In the quiet town of Oba, everyone knew everyone. People greeted each other with smiles, morning market songs, and the sound of pestles pounding yam. But inside this peaceful town lived a girl who felt invisible. Her name was Adiz. Adiz was 14. Her skin was the color of roasted palm kernel, rich, deep and smooth. But instead of being proud of it, she often hid in the shadows. People in Oba said things that stung her heart. See as she black like charcoal. If she waka for night, you no go see am. This one no go ever marry. Her skin too dark. Even her stepmother, Madame Clara, joined in the mockery. No man wants a girl that looks like village soot, she said loudly one day while plaiting her daughter's hair. Adiz's father, Papa Ifani, ran a small shop by the roadside. He sold phone recharge cards, cabin biscuits, and sachet water. He loved Adiz quietly. He never said much, but his eyes always looked sad whenever someone teased her. After school, Adiz helped him in the shop. She would sit beside the biscuit carton and read old books or just watch people pass. She saw boys chasing girls with fair skin. She saw girls like Tommy, light-skinned and loud, flipping their hair and laughing as boys followed them like ants to sugar. Adiz never said anything. She kept her pain hidden like a secret. Her only friend was Zubi, a boy who liked to draw on the back of his exercise books. He had big glasses, rough hair, and a smile that always made her feel less alone. Your skin is like melted chocolate, Zubi said one afternoon, sketching her face on the back of his math book. One day, the world go begged to touch it. But Adiz shook her head. Nah lie. Nobody wants to be my friend except you. Then something happened that shook the whole school. The principal, Madame Ego, announced a beauty contest for girls in JSS 3. It would happen during the school's cultural day. Whoever won would be crowned Queen of Oba Secondary. Tommy jumped and screamed, I must win. Who fit compete with me? Everyone laughed. Some shouted her name. A few boys whistled. That evening, Adiz sat in front of the cracked mirror in her small room. She looked at herself, her deep eyes, round nose, full lips and dark skin. Maybe I fit try, she whispered to herself. Her heart was beating fast. Was she really thinking of joining the contest? The next morning at school, Adiz walked to the principal's office. The list for the beauty contest was pasted on the wall. Tommy and her friends were already there, laughing loudly. Adiz's fingers trembled as she picked the pen. Slowly she wrote, Name, Adiz Ifani. Class, JIS 3B. Everyone went silent. Tommy raised her brow and said, You won join. This thing na for fine girls not blackboards. Before Adiz could say a word, Zubi walked up beside her and said, Then the blackboard will be the smartest and most beautiful in the room. Adiz looked at the list. Her name was now there for everyone to see. She didn't know what would happen next. But her journey had already begun. The whole of Oba Secondary School buzzed like a broken generator. By the time the school bell rang for morning assembly, almost every student had heard the news. Adiz Ifani, the quiet black girl who sat alone and never raised her hand in class, had joined the beauty contest. Girls whispered. Boys laughed. She won disgrace herself, one boy muttered. Maybe she thinks say na skin of charcoal day win beauty contest, another snorted. Adiz stood in her line, her eyes fixed on the ground. Her heart felt like it would break through her chest. She could hear the laughter, feel the stares, and sense the rejection from people she had never even spoken to before. But one thing held her together, Zubi. He stood not far from her in the boys' line, his sketchpad in hand. When their eyes met, he gave her a little smile and nodded. Keep standing, his look seemed to say. At break time, Tommy and her friends surrounded Adiz by the tap. Adiz, Tommy said sweetly, twisting her pink beaded hair. You want to be queen of Oba Secondary? Do you know the meaning of the word beauty? Adiz didn't answer. Another girl, Ngozi, laughed. Her skin day scare small children. No be beauty be that. Na witchcraft. The girls burst into laughter, loud and sharp like thunder. Adiz turned slowly and walked away, not because she was weak, but because if she opened her mouth, she might cry. She hid behind the old school block where no one went anymore. Sitting on a broken block, she wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Why did I sign up? She asked herself. Why didn't I just stay invisible like before? She thought of going back to the list and striking her name out. Maybe that would stop the pain. Just then she heard footsteps. It was Zubi, holding a fresh drawing in his hand. He didn't say anything at first. He just handed her the paper. It was a picture of her, strong, tall, and confident, standing on a small hill with a crown on her head. Behind her was a crowd of people cheering. Zubi said quietly, "I know how they look at you. But you need to see how I see you." Adiz's lips trembled. She tried not to cry again, but this time the tears that came were soft, thankful tears. "They don't even know me," she whispered. "That's why you must let them," Zubi replied. "Let them see the real you." That evening, when Adiz got home, she placed Zubi's drawing beside her pillow. She looked at it for a long time before sleeping. Even if the world called her dark, even if they laughed, maybe, just maybe, she could shine. And somewhere deep inside her heart, a fire had started to burn. It had been 2 days since Adiz signed up for the beauty contest, and already, everything in school felt different. She noticed how people turned to look at her when she walked into the class. Some did it with surprise. Others with disgust. A few with curiosity. The whispers hadn't stopped. "Is it madness or boldness?" one girl said. "She must think we're blind," another scoffed. But Adiz didn't cry anymore. Not even once. Each morning, she stared into the mirror and whispered to herself, "I'm enough. I deserve to be seen." She had never said things like that before. But since Zubi gave her that drawing, something had changed in her. Zubi had become her shield. He carried her books, sat beside her at break, drew new versions of her as a queen, warrior, singer, even as a superhero. Each one made her feel alive. Then came Monday morning, the day for beauty contest orientation. Madame Ego, the principal, stood before the group of selected girls in the assembly hall. "Cultural Day is in 4 weeks. The beauty contest is not just about fine face or yellow skin," she said, pacing. "It is about confidence, culture, and character." The girls nodded and clapped. Everyone looked excited. Except Adiz. She stood at the back, wondering if Madame Ego's words were true. Because everything around her still felt like it was only about skin. Tommy walked past her and bumped her shoulder, smiling as if it was an accident. "Hope you have your wrapper ready, Queen of Shadows," she whispered. "You'll need it to cover all that darkness." Adiz ignored her, even though her fingers clenched into fists. Later that day, she went to the school field where they were asked to practice their traditional dance steps. A young NYSC corper named Auntie Peace was leading the dance training. "Smile when you dance," Auntie Peace shouted. "Even if you make a mistake, smile." The music started. Girls began dancing, swinging their waists, clapping and laughing. Tommy danced like she had been born on a stage. Her steps were sharp, her smile perfect. Even some teachers stood to watch. Then it was Adiz's turn. She took a deep breath. The drum beat started again. She began slowly, one step, then another. She lifted her hands. Her hips swayed gently. She didn't have Tommy's flash, but she had grace, rhythm, and soul. She closed her eyes and let the beat lead her. For a moment, she wasn't in school. She wasn't being judged. She was just dancing. When the music stopped, she opened her eyes. Silence. Then Zubi clapped. Loudly. Few others followed. Even Auntie Peace gave her a proud smile. Tommy folded her arms and walked away. But just when Adiz was starting to feel proud, something strange happened. That evening, as she walked home alone through the dusty road beside the bush path, she heard someone behind her. A step. She stopped and looked back. No one. She kept walking, faster this time. Then a voice whispered from behind a tree. "Stay away from the contest, or something bad will happen." Adi's heart froze. She looked around again. No one was there. She ran all the way home. That night she locked her door, sat on her bed, and hugged Zubi's drawing to her chest. For the first time, fear was louder than hope. But Adiz didn't know that this was only the beginning. Adiz didn't sleep much that night. She lay on her thin mattress, eyes wide open, staring at the wooden ceiling of her small room. The voice from the bush path kept repeating in her mind like a broken song. Stay away from the contest, or something bad will happen. Her chest felt tight. Was it Tommy? Or one of her friends? Was someone trying to scare her? She thought of telling her father, Papa Ifani, but he had already gone to bed early after returning tired from the market. Her stepmother, Madame Clara, wouldn't care. If anything, she might even enjoy the threat. As if called by her thoughts, Madame Clara banged on her door. "Better switch off that candle before Nipa comes and sees your nonsense," she shouted. Adiz quickly blew out the candle, leaving the room in complete darkness. She whispered to herself, "They want me to stop. But I won't stop. I won't hide anymore." The next morning, she wore her green school uniform and walked to school with her shoulders high, even if her heart was shaking inside. At the school gate, she looked around carefully, but everything seemed normal. No shadows, no whispers, no bush voices. But when she entered the class, she saw something that made her stop. Her chair was missing. She looked around. It wasn't in its usual spot near the back. Instead, it was outside the classroom, turned upside down and painted with white chalk. On it were the words, "Black girls don't win." The class burst into laughter. Even the teacher, Mr. Akoli, struggled to hide his smile. Tommy and her gang clapped and pointed. "Maybe she should go and start night dancing since she's already invisible," Tommy shouted. Adiz felt her cheeks burn, but she didn't cry. She walked slowly to her chair, turned it back upright, and carried it into the classroom like it was made of gold. She didn't say a word. She sat down, opened her book, and kept her head high. Zubi walked in a few minutes later, saw what happened, and slammed his bag on the desk. "This is evil," he muttered. "They're not bullying you. They're afraid of you." Deez blinked. "Afraid? Of me?" "Yes, because even with all they say, you still stand tall. That kind of power makes weak people scared." At break time, a kind senior girl named Ujunwa came to Adiz. "Don't let them break you," Ujunwa said, pressing a cold sachet of water into Adiz's hand. "Last year they called me Yam Leg, because of my bow legs. I still joined drama and ended up winning Best Actress. You belong here." That moment gave Adiz new strength. Maybe she wasn't alone after all. But just when she was beginning to feel hopeful again, something else happened. After school, as she walked home, she found a small nylon bag tied to the gate of their house. It was dirty and had something heavy inside. She looked around, nobody in sight. Slowly, she opened the nylon. Inside was a carved wooden doll, painted black, with a pin stuck into its heart. Adiz screamed and dropped the bag. Her stepmother rushed out. "What is it? Why are you shouting like a goat?" When Adiz pointed, Madame Clara gasped, stepped back and muttered under her breath, "Ndu, this is not ordinary play. Someone is doing juju for you." Adiz ran inside, locked the door, and sat on her bed. Her body was shaking. Her hands were cold. Her breath came in short gasps. Voice, chair, dull. It was no longer just bullying. Someone truly wanted to destroy her. But the fire inside her, the one that had started when she signed up, was not out yet. "Even if they use darkness, I will still shine." The day after the doll incident, Adiz woke up early. Her body was tired, but her spirit felt stronger. She had been pushed, mocked, threatened, even charmed, but something deep inside her refused to break. She wasn't just fighting for a crown anymore. She was fighting to be seen. She walked to school in silence. The road felt longer than usual. People greeted her father as he opened his shop. Madame Clara didn't say a word to her, just hissed like a snake when she passed the kitchen. At school, Adiz went straight to the assembly hall for dance rehearsals. Auntie Peace was already there, clapping her hands and shouting instructions. Today we'll practice our final group routine. Line up, my queens. The contestants lined up, Tommy in front, all smiles, her white blouse freshly ironed, her wrapper sparkling. Adiz stood near the back, quiet but ready. The drum began to beat. The rhythm flowed through the hall. Fast, strong, alive. The girls started dancing. Adiz followed the steps, moving to the rhythm with her head held high. Her feet were firm, her waist smooth, her hands raised like she was dancing with the sky. Then it happened again. Her left wrapper string loosened and began to fall. She quickly held it, trying to tie it back without stopping the dance. Tommy laughed loudly from the front. She don't even know how to tie wrapper. This is the queen of Oba. The other girls giggled. One whispered, maybe the spirits that sent her the doll also want her wrapper to fall. Adiz's cheeks burned. Her fingers trembled as she tied the wrapper tighter. She felt the sting of shame climbing her throat. But then Auntie Peace clapped and stopped the dance. She walked straight to Adiz. Everyone went silent. Why are you all laughing? Auntie Peace said, frowning. Do you know how strong this girl is? She turned to the others. Adiz came late into the competition. She didn't grow up with fancy clothes. But she has heart. And culture is not about skin or money. It is about spirit. The room went quiet. Then Madame Ego walked in with her glasses hanging on her nose. Ah, good, she said. Girls, next week is Cultural Day. Judges will come from outside the school. There will be 3 rounds. Dance, speech and dressing. Only the best will win. So prepare well. Her eyes scanned the girls and stopped on Adiz. You, she said. Come to my office after school. The other girls looked confused. Was Adiz in trouble? After rehearsals, Adiz knocked softly on Madame Ego's door. Enter, the principal said. Adiz stepped in slowly. She had never been inside the office alone before. Madame Ego looked up from her papers. I've been watching you. Adiz stood quietly. When you first wrote your name, I thought it was a mistake, she continued. But now, I see something. You're not the loudest, not the finest, but you have something they don't have. Adiz's lips parted slightly. Her heart thumped. What do I have, Ma? She asked in a small voice. Depth, Madame Ego said. Strength, pain that did not kill you. Use that on stage. Let them feel you. Adiz nodded slowly. Thank you, Ma. As she walked out of the office, something rose in her chest. Not fear, not sadness. It was pride. But danger still lurked in silence. That evening, as she walked past the mango tree near the school gate, a stone hit her leg. She turned fast. No one. But on the tree trunk, someone had carved in rough letters. She won't reach the stage. Adiz stared at it. Then she raised her chin and whispered, I'll not only reach the stage, I will own it. The countdown had begun. Only 5 days left until Cultural Day, the biggest event of the school year. Colorful wrappers, beads, headscarves, and drums filled every corner of Oba Secondary. Girls whispered about what they would wear. Boys joked about who would win the beauty contest. But when they whispered names, only one name caused both laughter and fear. Adiz. She was the name they didn't expect. The one they tried to mock. But the one they couldn't ignore. Every morning, Adiz woke up earlier than usual. She swept the compound, fetched water, helped her father arrange the kiosk, then walked to school with a quiet fire burning in her chest. Each step she took felt like a protest against every voice that said she was not enough. At rehearsals, she danced with power. Her hands moved like wind. Her feet like firewood cracking beneath flames. Even Auntie Peace was impressed. Adiz, you carry your ancestors in your waist, she shouted one day after practice. Don't stop. Dance with your pain. Let them hear your story without words. Zubi cheered the loudest. He had drawn a giant picture of Adiz wearing a crown, holding a mirror, and staring into it with pride. I'll hang it on the school board when you win, he said. Adiz smiled but stayed humble. She wasn't dancing to win. She was dancing to be seen. But not everyone was happy. Tommy had noticed the shift. Her laughter was quieter. Her insults came less often. She had spent extra money getting a fancy lace wrapper from Onitsha and a golden bead set her aunt sent from Lagos. If Adiz wins, Tommy whispered to her friends, she will disgrace the name of this school. People will laugh at us. We must not let her shine. That evening, Tommy called one of her cousins, a local tailor's son named Chisholm. She handed him a small nylon filled with something strange. Just do it before Cultural Day, she said coldly. And make sure she can't walk properly. Back at home, Adiz sat with her father on a wooden bench outside their small house. The moon was full. The air was calm. Papa Ifani looked at her gently. You remind me of your mother, he said softly. She had the same skin, same eyes, same fire. She never let the world decide her value. Adiz blinked. Was she mocked too? Yes, he said. But the same people that mocked her came to beg her later for help. He took her hand and smiled. Shine, my daughter. Let no one dim you. The next day was the final dress rehearsal. Girls brought their cultural outfits. Wrappers, anklets, beaded necklaces, and even calabashes. Tommy came in with glittering clothes that shone like the sun. But when Adiz stepped out in her simple Isayago blouse, plain red wrapper, and hand-tied gelly, the entire room went silent. She looked like a true daughter of the land. Zubi whispered, Queen, you don't even need a crown. Everyone watched as she danced across the stage during practice. Her arms rose like wings. Her waist moved like storytelling drums. Even the teachers clapped. But that evening, as she walked home from school alone, just before the main road, someone was hiding near the bush path again. And this time, they weren't just whispering. They were waiting. The sun had gone down. The sky was dim and orange, and birds flew quietly across the evening sky. Adiz walked alone, her school bag strapped tightly across her shoulder. Her wrapper was folded neatly in her bag, and her feet hurt a little from the long dance practice. But she didn't mind. 4 more days, she whispered. Just 4 more days and it'll all be over. She reached the usual bush path shortcut that led to her street. It was quiet, too quiet. She looked around. Nothing seemed strange. But as she stepped forward, something sharp pierced her foot. Ah! Adiz cried out, falling to the ground. She looked down and saw a small wooden board with nails hidden under dry leaves. Her foot was bleeding. Her hands shook. Who put this here? Suddenly she heard footsteps. Rest. Heavy. A boy in torn jeans and slippers ran out of the bush. His face was covered with a red scarf. Dee screamed. She tried to get up, but her leg hurt too much. She began to crawl backwards. The boy reached her, grabbed her bag, and said in a gruff voice, Next time stay where you belong. This contest is not for people like you. Then he threw the bag to the ground and disappeared back into the bush. Adiz sat there shaking. Tears rolled down her face. Not just from pain but from fear. Was it a robbery? No, he didn't take anything. This was planned. Suddenly another voice came. Adiz. It was Zubi running from the main road. He had been on his way to deliver his sketchbook to a teacher when he saw her bag on the ground. He rushed to her side, helped her up carefully, and tore his handkerchief to tie around her foot. Let's go home. You're bleeding. He helped her walk slowly back to her house. When they arrived, Papa Ifani saw the blood and rushed to her. Who did this? He shouted. Adiz could barely talk, but Zubi explained everything. Papa Ifani's face turned red with anger. This is more than jealousy. This is wickedness. Madame Clara came out too, but instead of shouting, she just folded her arms. I told you. This whole beauty contest will only bring bad luck. Adiz looked up from where she sat. I'm not quitting, she said firmly. Zubi nodded beside her. We will bandage the leg. We will practice slowly. You're stronger than them. That night, Papa Ifani made hot pepper soup and sat beside her as she ate. He told her stories of warriors who were wounded before battle, but still won. Adiz listened, holding back tears. Even with pain shooting through her foot, her spirit refused to break. Later that night, in another part of town, Tommy sat with her cousin Chisholm. "Did you do it?" she whispered. Chisholm nodded. "She fell. It worked. But someone helped her." Tommy frowned. "Then we need a new plan." She didn't know that even pain couldn't stop a girl who had already found her power. Because Adiz was no longer dancing to prove anything to the world. She was dancing to heal herself. The next morning, the school bell rang like it always did, but something was different. Adiz didn't walk in with the others. She limped. Her injured foot was covered with white bandage, and each step felt like fire. But she moved with quiet strength, her head high, her eyes forward. Everyone turned to look. Some gasped. Some whispered. Some stared in shock. She still came. After what happened? This girl is not normal. Tommy stood near the tap with her arms folded, watching Adiz limp past. She expected her to cry, to hide, to stay at home like a wounded dog. But Adiz kept going. In class, Zubi helped her sit carefully. He placed her bag.